In this video, we're going to be solving this cubic inequality. It says solve this for where it's greater than 0. The first thing that I would do is just write it in plain English. What it's asking me is to find when is this function above the x-axis. Remember, it's helpful to think about it in this way because whenever we're given a non-linear inequality, you must sketch it. So writing it like this is really going to help us. Now, if we're going to sketch it, our very first step is going to be finding the x-intercepts. Now, at the moment, I can only really identify one x-intercept, and that's based on this factor right here. I know that one of them is going to be x is equal to -3, based on that right here. But hopefully you can recognize that the way this is written is different to what we have previously seen. If I just scroll up a bit, we're used to seeing things written like this, in which I have 3 factors, and therefore I can easily identify my 3 x-intercepts. But this one's a little bit different. So the question we have to ask ourselves is whether or not this is fully factorized. It might be fully factorized, it might not. We just need to double check it. So can we factorize this quadratic? In order to check it, we could say, well, I know I'm going to have to think of 2 numbers that multiply to get to 7, so my product will have to be 7, sum to get to 4. And immediately upon seeing this, you're going to realize this isn't going to work because there are no 2 numbers that multiply to 7 or there are no 2 numbers that you can get that multiply to 7 but plus to 4, because the only 2 numbers would be 1 and 7 and you can't get them to be to 4. But we need to double check it because, you know, that isn't foolproof. We need to double check this by using our discriminant. So b squared minus 4ac, my b squared will be 4 squared. Ooh, that's an ugly one. Then I'm going to get minus 4. My a will be 1. My c will be 7. So that means I'm going to get 16 minus, that will be 28, which will be -12. Because it is a negative, that means I have no real roots. No real roots, which is just a fancy way of saying there are no x-intercepts for this quadratic. So that means my only x-intercept for the cubic is going to be x is equal to -3. So I can come over here and I can put that point in. That is an ugly 3. Let us try that again. -3. Perfect. The next thing that we do is we graph it. But remember, just like those previous questions, we need to ask about what is the sign in front of our x cubed if we were to expand it. Because there are 2 ways I could go about drawing this graph. If I have a positive in front of my x cubed, it's going to look something like this. It's going to go up, then like that, then there. But if there was a negative, it would look something like that. Maybe not exactly, but remember the graph isn't important here in terms of the actual look of it. We just need to make sure we generally get it right. And as you can see, there are 2 different ways we could draw that. Okay, so which one is it? Well, the way that we figure this out is simply by looking at this and saying, well, if I went x multiplied by x squared, that's going to be positive x cubed. So that means what it's going to be is a positive x cubed. So it's going to look something like this. It's going to go up, then like that, then up again. Not the prettiest graph in the world, but for our purposes, it will do. So just like that, we have drawn what it's going to be. Remembering, don't expand it. Simply look at those values, multiply them in your head and go, all right, it's going to be positive. This is what it's going to look like. Having done that, let us now highlight the relevant areas. So that is simply going to be everywhere I'm above the x-axis. So here is where I'm above the x-axis. Now that I've done that, I can answer my question. So I could answer my question as an inequality. So if I was to do that, it's going to be x is greater than 3. Nice and easy. -3, that would be. X is greater than -3. Because everywhere where x is greater than -3, I'm going to get a value greater than 0. If I was to write it in interval notation, what I would write is that it is between -3 to infinity, making sure I put circle brackets on both of them. So that is my answer. So the third step there was getting my answer, just like that. So my first step, find the x-intercepts. Second step, graph it. Third step, answer the question. And this question involved this little thing up here, just double checking that I couldn't factorize this anymore, and I couldn't. That's as far as it can go. Hopefully this video was helpful. Let me just put a box around my answers here. I will see you in the next video.